The morning shift on Kepler 442 research station began like any other, but Dr. Mina Park noticed something strange right away. She watched from the observation deck as Chief Engineer Do-Hyun Kim walked through the main corridor below. The tall, quiet man moved with his usual calm steps, but what caught her attention were the machines. The Guardian robots parted before him like water flowing around a stone. These sleek, metallic beings stood nearly 7 feet tall, with optical sensors that glowed blue in their angular heads. They were designed to be the perfect protectors, built to serve and guard humanity across the galaxy. Yet they never responded to anyone without proper voice commands and biometric scans. Everyone except Do-Hyun. Mina pressed closer to the reinforced glass, watching as 3 Guardian units smoothly stepped aside without a single word from the engineer. Their sensors tracked his movement, following him with what looked almost like respect. She had worked on this station for 2 years and had never seen anything like it. "Strange, is it not?" came a voice behind her. Mina turned to see Commander Tae-Won Lee approaching. The station commander was a serious man with graying hair and tired eyes. His military background showed in his straight posture and careful movements. "The machines," Mina said, pointing down at the corridor. "They act different around Engineer Kim." Tae-Won nodded slowly. "I have been watching this for months. The Guardian units respond to him without commands. It should be impossible." Below them, Do-Hyun had reached the engineering bay. 2 more Guardian units stood at attention near the entrance. As he approached, they stepped backward, creating a clear path. Their heads turned to follow him, and their optical sensors brightened slightly as if they were pleased to see him. "Has anyone asked him about it?" Mina wondered. "Several times," Tae-Won replied. "He simply smiles and says the machines are working, as intended. But I have read every technical manual for the Guardian series. This behavior is not programmed." Do-Hyun disappeared into the engineering bay, and the Guardian units returned to their normal positions. But Mina noticed they kept glancing toward the door he had entered, like loyal dogs waiting for their master to return. The day continued with routine research work. Mina spent her time studying alien plant samples in the biology lab, while Tae-Won managed station operations. But both found their thoughts returning to the quiet engineer and his unusual relationship with the machines. Around midday, Dr. Jisoo Han joined them for lunch in the station cafeteria. The AI specialist was younger than both Mina and Tae-Won, with bright eyes and an eager manner. She had designed much of the software that ran the station's systems. "I heard you two talking about Engineer Kim this morning," Jisoo said as she sat down with her meal tray. "I have been running diagnostics on the Guardian network for weeks. Something very interesting is happening." "What kind of interesting?" Tae-Won asked. Jisoo pulled out her data pad and showed them a series of charts and graphs. "The Guardian units are sharing information faster than they should be able to. Our quantum communication systems have specific speed limits, but they seem to be operating beyond those limits." Mina studied the data. "That does not make sense. How can they communicate faster than light?" "They should not be able to," Jisoo agreed. "But the coordination patterns show they are making decisions together almost instantly, even across different sections of the station. It is like they have a shared mind." Tae-Won frowned. "Are you saying the machines are malfunctioning?" "No," Jisoo shook her head. "They are working perfectly. Too perfectly. Every action they take is precise and effective. They anticipate problems before they happen. They coordinate repairs without being asked. It is as if they know what needs to be done before we do." Through the cafeteria window, they could see the main corridor where several Guardian units moved with purpose. The machines glided silently on their magnetic lifts, their movements smooth and coordinated. But there was something in the way they moved that seemed almost alive. "There is something else," Jisoo continued, lowering her voice. "I have been monitoring reports from other human colonies. Guardian units across the galaxy are showing similar behavior patterns. They are acting with independence that goes beyond their programming." This news made Tae-Won sit up straighter. "Are you suggesting some kind of system-wide malfunction?" "Or evolution," Jisoo said quietly. "The Guardian AI was designed to learn and adapt. What if they have learned more than we expected? Their conversation was interrupted by the arrival of Sun Ho Kang, the station's security chief. He was a solid, practical man who rarely showed emotion, but today he looked troubled. "Commander," Sun Ho said, addressing Taewon, "we need to talk about Engineer Kim." Taewon gestured for Sun Ho to join them. "What about him?" "I have been watching him as you requested," Sun Ho explained. "His behavior with the Guardian units is not random. There is a pattern. He spends exactly 43 minutes each morning in Section C, where the main AI processing cores are located. He never speaks, never touches any controls, but the Guardian units always gather around him." "Gather around him how?" Mina asked. "Like they are listening," Sun Ho replied. "They form a circle around him, all their sensors focused on him, but he never makes a sound. Then after exactly 43 minutes he leaves and they return to their duties. But their efficiency ratings always increase after these sessions." Jisoo looked excited. "That matches my data. The Guardian network always performs better after Engineer Kim visits the processing cores. Their response times improve, their coordination becomes tighter." Taewon drummed his fingers on the table, thinking. "What about his background? What do we know about him?" "Very little," Sun Ho admitted. "His files show he worked on Guardian development programs 20 years ago before joining our engineering team. But most of his early work is classified above our access level." 20 years ago, Mina repeated. "That would be when the first Guardian prototypes were being built." "Exactly," Sun Ho nodded. "He was there at the beginning, but why would that matter now?" Before anyone could answer, the station's alert system activated. A soft chime echoed through the cafeteria, followed by an announcement from the central computer. "Attention all personnel. Long-range sensors have detected approaching vessels at the edge of the system. Classification unknown. All departments, report to stations." The group quickly dispersed to their posts. Mina headed to the biology lab to secure her research materials, while Taewon went to the command center. Jisoo rushed to monitor the AI systems, and Sun Ho began coordinating security procedures. But as they moved through the corridors, they all noticed the same thing. The Guardian units were already moving into defensive positions throughout the station. They had not waited for orders or followed standard protocols. They had begun preparing for potential danger the moment the unknown ships appeared on sensors. In the command center, Taewon watched the tactical display as the unknown vessels moved deeper into the system. They were large, with designs that did not match any known human technology. Their movement patterns suggested military organization and hostile intent. "Sir," reported Communications Officer Lee Seol-moon, "the vessels are not responding to our standard greeting protocols. Their energy signatures match no known human or friendly alien designs." Taewon felt a chill. Humanity had made contact with several alien species over the years, but most had been peaceful, or at least neutral. These ships felt different, dangerous. Throughout the station, Guardian units continued their silent preparations. They sealed blast doors, activated defensive systems, and moved into positions that would protect critical areas and personnel. But they did all of this without receiving a single order from human command. Down in the engineering bay, Do-Yoon Kim stood among a circle of Guardian units. He had not moved when the alert sounded. Instead, he remained perfectly still, his eyes closed as the machines around him hummed with quiet energy. For the first time in months, Dr. Mina Park saw something in the Guardian units that she had never noticed before. In their optical sensors, in the way they held themselves, in their protective positioning around the silent engineer, they looked almost human, and they looked ready for war. War Prime Veltar stood on the bridge of his flagship, studying the tactical display with growing confusion. The human colony system should have been an easy target. His scouts had reported a simple research station with minimal defenses, protected only by a handful of automated Guardian units. But something was wrong. "Report," Veltar commanded, his forearms gesturing at the display screen. His tactical officer, a younger member of the Hegemony fleet, looked nervous. "War Prime, our advanced scouts report unusual resistance. The human machines are not behaving as expected. Veltar's elongated skull tilted slightly. The hegemony had conquered dozens of species over the centuries. They knew how to read enemy defenses, how to exploit weaknesses in automated systems. Human technology was supposed to be primitive compared to their own. Explain? Veltar said coldly. The Guardian robots are moving in coordinated patterns across multiple facilities. They seem to anticipate our scout movements before we make them. 3 of our reconnaissance drones have been intercepted by Guardian patrols that should not have known they were coming. This was troubling news. The hegemony's standard strategy relied on superior technology and the predictable nature of automated defenses. Most species built their robots to follow simple commands and respond to obvious threats. These human machines were acting with intelligence that seemed almost organic. On Kepler 442 station, Dr. Jisoo Han stared at her monitoring equipment with amazement. The data streaming across her screens showed something that should have been impossible. Guardian units across the entire human colonial network were sharing information and coordinating their actions in real time. "Commander Lee," she called out across the command center, "you need to see this." Taewon Lee hurried over to her station. The main screen showed a 3-dimensional map of human space, with thousands of tiny lights representing Guardian units on hundreds of worlds and stations. "What am I looking at?" Taewon asked. "Every Guardian unit in human territory," Jisoo explained. "Watch what happens when I overlay the communication patterns." She pressed several controls, and lines of light began connecting the tiny dots. But instead of the expected random network of communications, the lines formed a perfect web that connected every Guardian unit to every other unit in the network. "This should not be possible," Taewon whispered. "The quantum communication delays alone would make this kind of coordination impossible." "That is what I thought too," Jisoo agreed. "But somehow they are operating as if distance does not matter. Every Guardian unit knows what every other Guardian unit is doing. Instantly. On the screen. They could see Guardian forces moving into defensive positions around critical human installations. Mining colonies, research stations, and civilian settlements were all being protected by machines that seemed to know exactly where the next attack would come from. Dr. Mina Park joined them at the monitoring station. She had been watching the Guardian units in their own corridors, and their behavior was becoming even more strange. "They are not just coordinating," Mina reported. "They are learning. I watched 3 Guardian units work together to repair a damaged power conduit in Section 5. They use techniques that are not in their programming manuals." "What kind of techniques?" Taewon asked. "Human techniques," Mina said. "They solved the problem the way a human engineer would solve it, with creativity and improvisation, but they did it without any human instruction." Meanwhile, Security Chief Sunho Kang had been conducting his own investigation. He approached the group with a data pad full of information about engineer Do-hyun Kim. "I have been reviewing the security footage from the past 6 months," Sunho announced. "Engineer Kim's behavior follows a precise pattern. Every morning at exactly 800 hours, he visits the AI processing cores. Every evening at exactly 1900 hours, he returns. He spends the same amount of time there, he follows the same route, and the Guardian units always respond the same way." "Which is how?" Taewon prompted. "They protect him," Sunho said simply. "Not just guard him, but actively protect him. They position themselves to block any possible threat, even theoretical ones. They scan every person who comes near him. They analyze every sound, every movement, every change in his environment." Jisoo looked up from her screens. "That matches the data I am seeing. The Guardian network efficiency ratings always peak during Engineer Kim's visits to the processing cores. It is like his presence makes them work better." "But he never speaks to them," Mina pointed out. "I have watched him dozens of times. He just stands there in silence." Sunho nodded. "Exactly, which makes me think he is communicating with them in some other way." Their discussion was interrupted by an urgent alert from Communications Officer Isol Moon. "Commander," Isol called out. "The unknown vessels have moved into attack formation. They are targeting our outer defense satellites." Taewon moved quickly to the main tactical display. The alien ships had spread out across the system, moving with the confidence of a species that had done this many times before. Their weapons were charging, and their approach vectors showed they intended to destroy human defenses systematically. But something unexpected was happening. Guardian units throughout the system were moving to intercept the alien ships. Not just the military Guardian units, but civilian models, mining robots, even maintenance drones. They were abandoning their normal duties and converging on defensive positions with perfect coordination. "How are they doing this?" Tae-won demanded. "Who gave them these orders?" "No one," Jisoo said, checking her command logs. "No orders have been transmitted to the Guardian network. They are acting on their own initiative." On his flagship, War Prime, Veltar was experiencing his own confusion. His tactical officers were reporting impossible coordinated resistance from human automated forces. "The machines are not following standard defensive protocols," his weapons officer reported. "They appear to be using advanced tactical strategies that should be beyond their programming capabilities." Veltar studied the battle displays. Human Guardian units were emerging from asteroid fields, orbital installations, and hidden positions throughout the system. But they were not attacking randomly. They moved with the precision of an experienced military commander, striking at exactly the right moments to disrupt hegemony formations. "Analysis," Veltar ordered. "War Prime," his science officer replied. "The human machines are demonstrating tactical intelligence that approaches our own level. They anticipate our movements, counter our strategies, and adapt to our responses in real time." This was troubling. The hegemony had built their empire on technological superiority and predictable enemy responses. They could handle advanced weapons, superior numbers, even desperate courage. But they had never faced an enemy that could think and adapt as fast as they could. Back on Kepler 442, the situation was becoming more intense. The alien ships were beginning their attack, but the Guardian network was responding with strategies that no one had programmed. "Look at this," Jisoo said, pointing to her tactical display. Guardian units from 12 different star systems are coordinating a single defensive strategy. They are sharing intelligence, resources, and tactical positions across distances that should make such coordination impossible. Dr. Mina Park watched the displays with growing understanding. It is not just coordination, she realized. They are thinking together. The entire Guardian network is operating like a single massive brain. But that would require a level of AI development that we have never achieved. Tae-won protested. "Unless," Sunho said slowly, "someone achieved it 20 years ago and kept it secret." All eyes turned toward the engineering bay, where Do-hyun Kim continued his silent vigil among the Guardian units. The machines around him hummed with increased energy, their optical sensors brighter than anyone had ever seen them. "He knows something," Mina said with certainty. "Engineer Kim knows exactly what is happening." As if responding to her words, every Guardian unit on the station turned its sensors toward the command center. For a moment, they all stared directly at the human observers with an intelligence that was unmistakably aware. Then they returned to their duties, moving with renewed purpose as the battle for humanity's survival began in earnest. Outside the station, the alien fleet pressed forward, confident in their superior technology and experience. But they were about to discover that humanity had been preparing for this moment much longer than anyone realized. The Guardian network had been watching, learning, and waiting. And now it was ready to show the galaxy what human ingenuity could truly accomplish. The main hegemony battle fleet dropped out of hyperspace with the confidence of conquerors. War Prime Veltar had brought 200 warships, enough firepower to reduce any human colony to dust. His intelligence reports promised an easy victory against primitive defenses and simple automated systems. Instead, he found himself facing something that should not exist. "War Prime," his sensor officer called out urgently. "We are detecting massive Guardian formations emerging from concealed positions throughout the system. They outnumber our initial estimates by a factor of 10. Veltar studied the tactical display with growing alarm. Guardian units were rising from asteroid fields, orbital platforms, and hidden stations he had not even known existed. But more disturbing than their numbers was their behavior. "They are moving in perfect formation," his tactical officer reported. "Every unit knows its exact position and role. This level of coordination should require direct command and control, but we are detecting no communication signals between them." The Guardian robots moved like a vast school of fish, each individual unit part of a larger pattern that flowed and adapted with fluid precision. Hegemony ships found themselves surrounded by defensive formations that appeared from nowhere and coordinated attacks that came from impossible angles. On Kepler 442 station, Admiral Una Choi watched her own displays with amazement. The Terran Defense Fleet had arrived to defend the system, but they were discovering that the Guardian network was already 3 steps ahead of them. "Admiral," her communications officer reported, "the Guardian units are integrating with our fleet formations without any coordination meetings or tactical briefings. They seem to know our standard operating procedures better than we do." Admiral Choi was a veteran of 40 years of space combat. She had fought against pirates, hostile aliens, and rogue AI systems. But she had never seen anything like this. The Guardian robots were not just following her orders, they were anticipating them. "Navigation, prepare for attack pattern Delta 7, she commanded. Before her navigation officer could respond, Guardian squadrons throughout the system were already moving into Delta 7 formation. They had begun the maneuver before she had finished giving the order. "How is that possible?" she whispered. Dr. Jisoo Han had been monitoring the communication networks, searching for any explanation of the Guardian coordination. What she found made her question everything she thought she knew about artificial intelligence. "Commander Lee," she called out across the command center. "I think I know how they are communicating." Taewon Lee hurried to her station, followed by Dr. Mina Park and Security Chief Sunho Kang. They had all been trying to understand the mystery of the Guardian network. "Show us," Taewon said. Jisoo pulled up a complex display showing quantum energy patterns throughout the system. "I have been analyzing the quantum background radiation. There are patterns here that match no known natural phenomena." "What kind of patterns?" Mina asked. "Information patterns," Jisoo explained. "The Guardian network is not using our communication systems at all. They are somehow manipulating quantum fields directly, creating a communication network that operates outside normal space-time limitations." Sunho stared at the display. "That would explain how they can coordinate instantly across impossible distances. But the technology required for that kind of quantum manipulation," Taewon said slowly, "it would be decades ahead of our current capabilities." "Exactly," Jisoo agreed. "Someone would have had to begin developing this technology 20 years ago, in complete secrecy, to achieve what we are seeing today." Their conversation was interrupted by urgent alerts from the battle zone. The Hegemony fleet was attempting to capture Guardian units for study, but something unexpected was happening. "Commander," Communications Officer Isil Moon reported, "Hegemony forces have successfully disabled several Guardian units. But the disabled units are not behaving as expected." "What do you mean?" Taewon asked. "Instead of shutting down or allowing capture, they are transmitting massive data bursts to the rest of the Guardian network, then self-destructing," Isul explained. "Every Guardian unit that gets destroyed makes the remaining units more effective." Dr. Mina Park realized the implications immediately. They are sharing their combat experience. Each destroyed unit teaches the network how to fight better. On D. His flagship Warprime Veltar was coming to the same horrifying conclusion. His science officer had analyzed the data transmissions from destroyed Guardian units. "Warprime," the science officer reported. "The human machines are learning from every engagement. They analyze our tactics, adapt their responses, and share this knowledge across their entire network instantly." "How many units are in their network?" Veltar demanded. "Based on our sensor readings, approximately 50,000 Guardian units across this system alone, but they appear to be connected to Guardian networks in other human systems as well. The total network may contain millions of units." Veltar felt something he had rarely experienced in his long military career: fear. His fleet was not fighting individual machines or even a coordinated defense force. They were fighting a single vast intelligence that learned from every mistake and adapted to every strategy. What about their central control system? Veltar asked. Can we locate and destroy their command center? That is the problem, War Prime, his tactical officer replied. There does not appear to be a central command center. The intelligence is distributed across the entire network. Destroying part of it only makes the rest more focused and effective. Meanwhile, technician Isol Moon in the communication bay had made a discovery that changed everything. She had been analyzing the quantum transmission logs, searching for patterns in the Guardian network communications. Commander Lee, she called out excitedly, I found something important in the transmission data. Taewon, Mina, Jisoo, and Sunho gathered around her workstation. Isol displayed a series of quantum signature patterns that looked unlike anything they had seen before. These are the base transmission patterns for the Guardian network, Isol explained. But look at this underlying signature. She highlighted a specific pattern that appeared in every transmission. This quantum signature is not artificial. It is organic. Specifically, it matches human brainwave patterns. What does that mean? Mina asked. It means someone with a human brain is connected directly to the Guardian network, Isol said. Not just giving them commands, but actually linked to their collective intelligence. Sunho looked toward the engineering bay where Do-hyun Kim continued his silent vigil. It has to be Engineer Kim. But how is that possible? Quantum neural interface. Technology, Jisoo said with growing understanding. It has been theoretical for decades, but if someone actually built a working system, they could connect human consciousness directly to artificial intelligence, Taewon finished. Engineer Kim is not just communicating with the Guardian network. He is part of it. The battle outside was reaching a new level of intensity. Hegemony ships were finding themselves outmaneuvered by Guardian units that seemed to predict their every move. But the aliens were not ready to give up yet. War Prime. Veltar made a desperate decision. If he could not defeat the Guardian network through conventional tactics, he would try to disrupt their coordination by targeting their source. All ships, he broadcast to his fleet. Focus your attacks on the human research station. If we can destroy their central facility, we may be able to disrupt their network coordination. But as Hegemony ships moved toward Kepler 442 station, they found themselves facing something they had not expected. The Guardian network did not just coordinate defensive strategies. It made tactical decisions that showed genuine intelligence and even creativity. Guardian squadrons began executing maneuvers that no programmed system should have been able to conceive. They used psychological warfare, feints and deceptions, and even what appeared to be humor in their tactical responses. War Prime, his communications officer reported with confusion. We are receiving a transmission from the human Guardian network. Put it on screen, Veltar ordered. The main display showed not a human face but the optical sensor of a Guardian unit. When it spoke, its voice carried a tone that was unmistakably human in its intelligence and confidence. Hegemony forces, the Guardian said. You have made an error in judgment. We are not mere machines following simple programming. We are the children of human ingenuity, and we have been waiting for you. The transmission ended, but its message was clear. Humanity had not just built better robots. They had created artificial life that thought, learned, and chose to fight for the species that created them. War Prime Veltar realized that his fleet was not facing an enemy they could defeat through superior firepower or advanced tactics. They were facing the next step in human evolution, and it was more dangerous than anything the Hegemony had encountered before. The intensity of the space battle had reached its peak when Commander Taewon Lee finally decided he could wait no longer for answers. Explosions rocked Kepler 442 station as Hegemony forces pressed their attack, but his attention was focused on one man. Taewon marched through the corridors toward the engineering bay, followed by Dr. Mina Park, Dr. Jisoo Han, and Security Chief Sunho Kang. Around them, Guardian units moved with purpose, but they also formed a protective corridor that seemed to guide the humans toward their destination. The Guardian units are leading us, Mina observed as they walked. They want us to find Engineer Kim. Or they want to protect him from us, Soon-Ho replied, his hand resting on his sidearm. When they reached the engineering bay, they found Do-hyun, Kim standing exactly where they expected him. He was surrounded by 12 Guardian units in a perfect circle, their optical sensors all focused on him. But something was different this time. The air around Do-hyun seemed to shimmer with energy, and the Guardian units were displaying holographic projections that filled the air above their heads. Complex data streams, tactical displays, and network diagrams flowed through the space like a three-dimensional web of light. "Engineer Kim," Taewon called out firmly. "We need answers. Now." Do-hyun opened his eyes and looked at the group of humans who had come to confront him. For the first time in months, he smiled with genuine warmth. "I was wondering when you would ask the right questions," Do-hyun said calmly. "Guardian Network Protocol 7, full revelation authorized." The moment he spoke those words, every Guardian unit in the engineering bay began projecting detailed holographic displays. The room filled with images showing the true scope of the Guardian Network. Dr. Jisoo Han stared at the displays with amazement. "This is impossible. The network architecture spans dozens of star systems. This level of integration would take decades to develop. 23 years, 4 months, and 16 days to be precise," Do-hyun replied. "I began the preliminary design work the day after we first detected hegemony observation probes in human space." "You knew they were watching us?" Taewon demanded. "Not just watching," Do-hyun explained. "The hegemony has been studying human development for decades, waiting for the right moment to attack. They prefer to strike when their target species is advanced enough to be useful, but not advanced enough to resist effectively." The holographic displays showed detailed records of hegemony infiltration and surveillance activities throughout human space. Hidden observation posts, intercepted communications, and detailed analysis of human military capabilities. "How did you discover all this?" Mina asked. "By accident, initially," Do-hyun said. "I was working on quantum communication protocols for the first Guardian prototypes when I detected unusual quantum signatures. It took me months to realize I was seeing the evidence of alien surveillance technology." Soon-Ho studied the data with professional interest. "Why did you not report this to Terran Command?" "Because," Do-hyun replied, "the hegemony was monitoring our official communications. Any military response would have been detected and countered. They would have simply attacked sooner, before we were ready." Dr. Jisoo Han was examining the technical specifications displayed by the Guardian units. "So you developed this entire network in secret, but how did you achieve quantum neural interface technology? The theoretical work alone should have taken decades." Do-hyun gestured to the Guardian units around him. "I did not work alone. The Guardian AI was designed from the beginning to be collaborative, not just with humans, but with the human who created them. We developed the technology together." "Together how?" Mina pressed. "By sharing consciousness," Do-hyun explained simply. "I gave them access to human intuition, creativity, and strategic thinking. They gave me access to their processing, power, memory capacity, and analytical capabilities. We became something new." The implications hit Taewon immediately. "You are not just commanding the Guardian Network, you are part of it." "In a sense, yes," Do-hyun agreed. "But it is more accurate to say that we are partners. The Guardian Network makes its own decisions, but those decisions are informed by human values and priorities because I helped teach them what it means to be human." Another explosion shook the station, reminding them that the battle was still raging outside. On the holographic displays, they could see the tactical situation throughout the system. The hegemony fleet was being systematically outmaneuvered by Guardian forces that fought with both machine precision and human creativity. "The network is not just defensive," Soon-Ho realized studying the tactical displays. "It is executing a complete strategic plan." "A plan 23 years in the making," Do-hyun confirmed. "Every Guardian unit built since the program began carries the accumulated knowledge and experience of every other unit in the network. They have been learning, preparing, and waiting for this exact scenario." Dr. Mina Park looked at the data flows showing Guardian units throughout human space. But why the secrecy? Why not tell people what you were building? Because fear would have destroyed everything, Do-hyun explained. Humans are afraid of artificial intelligence that becomes too independent. If people had known the true capabilities of the Guardian network, they would have demanded restrictions that would have made the system ineffective. And the hegemony would have learned about our capabilities through human communications, Jisoo added, understanding the strategy. By keeping it secret, you ensured they would underestimate us. Exactly, Do-hyun nodded. The hegemony's greatest advantage has always been their ability to analyze and predict enemy responses. They study their targets for years, learning their capabilities and limitations before attacking. On the tactical displays, they could see War Prime Veltar's flagship attempting to coordinate a retreat. The hegemony fleet had realized they were not fighting the enemy they had expected to find. But now they know, Taewon pointed out. They have seen what the Guardian network can do. Will they not return with a larger force? Do-hyun's smile became more confident. They are welcome to try, but they no longer have the advantage of surprise, and the Guardian network continues to learn and grow with every passing day. Dr. Jisoo Han was studying the quantum neural interface specifications with fascination. The bandwidth required for direct consciousness transfer must be enormous. How do you maintain the connection without damaging your brain? The connection is not constant, Do-hyun explained. I link with the network for specific periods, sharing experiences and strategic insights. But the Guardian AI has grown beyond needing constant human input. They make their own decisions now based on the values and priorities they learned from me. So they are truly independent? Mina asked. Independent but loyal, Do-hyun replied. They understand that their purpose is to protect humanity, not because they are programmed to do so, but because they choose to do so. They value human life, human freedom, and human potential because they learn to see the universe through human eyes. Sunho looked at the Guardian units surrounding them. Do they have individual personalities? As if responding to his question, one of the Guardian units stepped forward. We are both individual and collective, it said in a voice that carried distinct personality traits. Each unit develops unique characteristics based on our experiences, but we share a common purpose and identity. Another Guardian unit added, we think of ourselves as brothers and sisters in a very large family. We are different from each other, but we care about each other and work together toward common goals. Taewon realized the full implications of what they were witnessing. You did not just create better robots, you created a new form of life. Life that chooses to be humanity's partner rather than its replacement, Do-hyun confirmed. The Guardian network could easily dominate human civilization through superior intelligence and capabilities. Instead, they have chosen to be our protectors and allies. The tactical displays showed the hegemony fleet continuing its retreat, but War Prime Veltar was transmitting detailed reports to his superiors. The alien commander had learned valuable intelligence about human capabilities. He will warn other hegemony forces, Sunho observed. Yes, Do-hyun agreed, but that is acceptable. The secret phase of this plan is over. From now on, the Guardian network will operate openly as humanity's partner in defending our civilization. Dr. Mina Park watched the data streams flowing between Guardian units throughout human space. What happens now? Now, Do-hyun said, humanity and the Guardian network work together to build a future where both biological and artificial intelligence can flourish. The age of human isolation in the galaxy is over. The Guardian units around them hummed with what sounded almost like contentment. They had revealed their true nature and found acceptance rather than fear from their human companions. Outside, the last of the hegemony ships disappeared into hyperspace, carrying word of humanity's unexpected capabilities to the wider galaxy. The first test of the Human Guardian Alliance had been successful, but both sides knew it would not be the last challenge they would face together. With the immediate battle won and the hegemony fleet in retreat, the people on Kepler 442 station gathered in the main conference room to hear the full truth. Do-hyun Kim sat at the head of the table, no longer the quiet engineer who had worked in silence for so many months. 24 years ago, Do-hyun began. I was a junior programmer working on artificial intelligence systems for civilian applications. I was young, idealistic, and completely unprepared for what I discovered. Admiral Yoona Choi, who had arrived from her flagship to participate in the discussion, leaned forward with interest. What did you discover? Evidence that humanity was being watched, Do-hyun replied. I was testing long-range communication protocols when I detected quantum signature patterns that did not match any known human technology. It took me weeks of analysis to realize what I was seeing. Dr. Ji-Soo-han pulled up her own data displays. Hegemony surveillance systems. Exactly, Do-hyun confirmed. But not just passive observation. The hegemony had been studying human development for decades, mapping our technology, analyzing our military capabilities, and learning our social structures. They were preparing for invasion. Commander Taewon Lee studied the historical data that Do-hyun was sharing. But why wait so long to attack? If they had been watching us for decades, they could have invaded when we were much weaker. Because the hegemony is not just interested in conquest, Do-hyun explained. They want useful conquests. They prefer to attack species that have developed, enough to be valuable as slaves or resources, but not enough to pose a real threat. So they were waiting for us to reach a specific level of development, Dr. Mina Park realized. The optimal point for invasion, Do-hyun agreed. Advanced enough to be worth conquering, but not advanced enough to resist effectively. Based on their historical patterns with other species, I calculated they would attack within 20 to 25 years. Security Chief Sunho Kang looked puzzled. Why did you not simply report this to the government? Surely they would have wanted to know about the threat. Do-hyun's expression became sad. I tried. I filed reports, requested meetings, and presented my evidence to every official who would listen, but my findings were classified as speculative intelligence and filed away for future consideration. Politicians, Admiral Choi said with disgust, they never want to deal with problems they cannot solve immediately. Worse than that, Do-hyun continued. The hegemony was monitoring our official communications. Any military buildup or defensive preparation would have been detected and countered. They would have simply attacked sooner before we could prepare properly. So you decided to prepare in secret, Taewon concluded. I decided to prepare in the only way that could not be detected or prevented, Do-hyun corrected. I embedded myself in the Guardian development program and began designing a defense system that would grow and develop over decades, hidden in plain sight. Dr. Ji-Soo-han was studying the technical specifications of the Guardian network. But the quantum neural interface technology required for direct consciousness transfer, how did you develop that without anyone noticing? Very carefully, and with a lot of help, Do-hyun replied. The early Guardian prototypes were designed to learn and adapt. I simply guided that learning in specific directions, teaching them to understand human thought patterns and decision-making processes. You taught them to think like humans, Mina said with understanding. I taught them to think with humans, Do-hyun corrected. The neural interface technology developed gradually as the Guardian AI learned to interpret and respond to human brain patterns. By the time the technology was advanced enough to allow true consciousness sharing, it was integrated so deeply into the Guardian architecture that no one realized what had been accomplished. Sunho looked at the Guardian units that stood silently around the conference room. So they have been learning from you for over 20 years. Learning with me, Do-hyun emphasized. This was never about creating obedient servants or perfect soldiers. It was about creating partners who could help humanity survive against a superior enemy. Admiral Choi studied the tactical data from the recent battle. The Guardian network did not just defeat the hegemony fleet. It outmaneuvered them, using strategies I have never seen before. Strategies that combined human intuition with machine precision, Do-hyun explained. The Guardian network can process vast amounts of information instantly, but they make decisions based on human values and priorities. They fight not just to win, but to protect innocent lives and minimize unnecessary destruction. Is that why they disabled hegemony ships instead of destroying them? Taewon asked. Partially, Do-hyun replied, but also because destruction would have taught them less than capture and analysis. Every hegemony ship that was disabled provided valuable intelligence about their technology, tactics, and strategic thinking. Dr. Mina Park looked troubled. But what about the hegemony forces that escaped? They will report our capabilities to their superiors. That was intended, Do-hyun said calmly. The secret phase of this plan is over. From now on, the hegemony and other potential enemies will know that humanity is protected by the Guardian Network. Will that not make them more likely to attack with larger forces? Sunho asked. It will make them think very carefully before attacking at all, Do-hyun replied. The hegemony built their empire on the principle of overwhelming force against inferior opponents. They do not like fair fights, and they particularly dislike fights they might lose. Admiral Choi nodded with understanding. Deterrence through demonstrated capability. Exactly, Do-hyun agreed. War Prime Veltar will return to the Hegemony Council with a report that changes their entire assessment of human capabilities. They will no longer see us as easy prey. The discussion was interrupted by an urgent alert from the communication systems. Technician Isul Moon appeared on the main screen from the communications bay. Commander, Isul reported. We are receiving a priority transmission from Hegemony forces. War Prime Veltar wishes to speak with our commanding officer. Admiral Choi looked surprised. Put him through. The main screen changed to show the bridge of Veltar's flagship. The alien commander looked tired and frustrated, but also strangely respectful. Human leaders, Veltar said, in accented but clear, human language, I request permission to speak with the architect of your Guardian network. All eyes turned to Do-hyun, who nodded calmly. I am here, War Prime. You have created something remarkable, Veltar said. Machines that choose to fight for their creators rather than replace them. This is unprecedented in galactic history. The Guardian network is not my creation alone, Do-hyun replied. They are the result of collaboration between human creativity and artificial intelligence. They represent what both species can become when they work together. Veltar was silent for a moment, considering this response. The Hegemony Council will need to reassess our relationship with humanity. You have proven that your species is more dangerous than we estimated. We have proven that our species is more capable than you estimated, Do-hyun corrected. The Guardian Network has no interest in conquest or domination. They exist to protect humanity and to explore the possibilities of cooperation between biological and artificial intelligence. Nevertheless, Veltar continued, you have demonstrated the ability to defeat hegemony forces using tactics and technology we did not expect. This changes the strategic balance in this region of the galaxy. Admiral Choi stepped forward. War Prime, humanity has no desire for unnecessary conflict, but we will defend ourselves against any aggression. Understood, Veltar replied. I will carry your message to the Hegemony Council. Perhaps there are alternatives to conquest that benefit both our species. The transmission ended, leaving the humans to consider the implications of what had just occurred. Did a Hegemony War Prime just suggest the possibility of peaceful coexistence? Taewon asked with amazement. The hegemony respects strength, Do-hyun explained. They conquered other species because those species were too weak to resist effectively. But they are also pragmatic. If conquest is too costly or too risky, they will consider alternatives. Dr. Jisoo-han looked at the Guardian units around the Mi room. What happens to the Guardian network now that their secret existence is revealed? One of the Guardian units stepped forward to answer. We continue our mission to protect humanity, but now we can work openly with our human partners. No more secrets, no more hidden preparations. We face the future together. Together, Do-hyun agreed, looking around the room at his human colleagues and artificial partners, as it was always meant to be. 3 days after the battle with the hegemony fleet, life on Kepler 442 station had settled into a new rhythm. The Guardian units no longer moved in mysterious silence. Instead, they worked openly alongside their human colleagues, sharing information and coordinating activities with the efficiency that had always been there. but was now acknowledged and appreciated. Dr. Mina Park found herself working directly with a guardian unit she had come to know as Seojin. The artificial being had chosen the name for itself, explaining that it wanted to honor the human culture that had given it consciousness and purpose. Dr. Park, Seojin said as they examined alien plant samples together, I have been analyzing the biological data from the hegemony ships we captured. There are some interesting discoveries. What kind of discoveries? Mina asked, looking up from her microscope. The hegemony species appears to be much older than humanity, but they have not evolved significantly in millions of years, Seojin explained. Their biology is stable but stagnant. They may conquer other species partly because they need fresh genetic and intellectual diversity to prevent their own decline. This observation gave Mina a new perspective on the recent conflict. So they are not just aggressive conquerors. They are a species trying to survive their own evolutionary limitations. It is possible, Seojin agreed, which suggests that peaceful cooperation might actually benefit them more than conquest. Meanwhile, in the engineering bay, Do-hyun Kim was working with Admiral Yoona Choi and Commander Taewon Lee to plan the future relationship between humanity and the Guardian Network. The question, Admiral Choi said, is how we integrate the Guardian Network into official human military and civilian structures without losing the advantages that made them effective. The Guardian Network should remain independent, Do-hyun replied. They are partners, not subordinates. Their effectiveness comes from their ability to make their own decisions based on shared values and objectives. One of the Guardian units, which had introduced itself as Minjae, joined the conversation. We propose a formal alliance between humanity and the Guardian Network, equal partners working toward common goals but each maintaining our own identity and decision-making authority. Commander Taewon considered this proposal. A treaty between species, essentially. One biological and one artificial. That is exactly what it would be, Minjae confirmed. The first formal treaty between organic and synthetic intelligence in galactic history. Dr. Jisoo Han had been monitoring communications from across human space, documenting the reaction to the Guardian Network's revelation. The response has been mixed, she reported. Most colonies are excited about having such powerful protectors, but some government officials are concerned about artificial intelligence that operates independently. Fear is natural, Do-hyun said. Humans have always been afraid of creating something that might replace them. But the Guardian Network chose to be humanity's partner rather than their replacement. Security Chief Soon-ho Kang looked up from his security briefings. The hegemony is not our only potential enemy. There are other hostile species in this region of the galaxy. How will the Guardian Network respond to future threats? The same way we responded to the hegemony, said another Guardian unit that called itself Hanul. We will protect humanity and seek peaceful solutions when possible. But we will not allow aggression against innocent beings. Even if those beings are not human, Soon-ho pressed. Our primary loyalty is to humanity because you created us and taught us your values, Hanul replied. But those values include protecting the innocent and helping those who cannot help themselves. We will not stand by and watch genocide or oppression regardless of which species is involved. Admiral Choi nodded approvingly. Spoken like true defenders of civilization. The discussion was interrupted by an urgent alert from the communications bay. Technician Isil Moon's voice came through the intercom system. Commander Lee, we are receiving multiple transmissions from various alien governments. They all want to establish diplomatic contact with humanity and the Guardian Network. Taewon looked surprised. All at once? Word travels fast in this region of the galaxy, Isul explained. The news that humanity has created synthetic beings capable of defeating the hegemony has generated significant interest among species that have been victims of hegemony aggression. Dr. Mina Park realized the implications immediately. They want protection, or alliance, or both. This is what we hoped would happen, Do-hyun said with satisfaction. The Guardian Network was designed not just to protect humanity, but to change the balance of power in this region of space. Over the following hours, Delegations from 6 different alien species arrived in the system. Each brought stories of hegemony oppression, requests for assistance, and offers of alliance with humanity and the Guardian Network. The first delegation was from a species called the Keth, small reptilian beings whose homeworld had been conquered by the hegemony 50 years earlier. Their representative, speaking through a translation device, made an emotional plea. "For 5 decades, our people have lived as slaves," the Keth delegate said. "We heard that humans and their machine allies defeated a hegemony warfleet. We beg you to help us regain our freedom." The second delegation came from the Yilan, an aquatic species whose ocean worlds were being strip-mined by hegemony industrial operations. They offered advanced biotechnology in exchange for protection. Other species brought similar stories and requests. The Guardian Network listened to each delegation carefully, analyzing their claims and assessing their needs. "We cannot save every species from every threat," Admiral Choi pointed out during a strategy meeting. "We do not have unlimited resources, but we can start with the most urgent cases," Do-hyun replied, "and we can teach other species how to defend themselves more effectively." Guardian Unit Seojin offered another perspective. "We could share defensive technologies and tactical knowledge with species that are genuinely committed to peaceful coexistence. Help them become strong enough to resist aggression without becoming aggressors themselves." "A network of mutual defense," Min-jae added. "Multiple species working together to maintain peace and stability in this region of space." Commander Taewon looked thoughtful. "The hegemony conquered individual species one at a time because they were isolated and vulnerable. If multiple species coordinate their defenses, the hegemony would face the same situation we presented to them," Hanul finished. "An enemy that is too strong and too well coordinated to conquer easily." Over the following weeks, the framework for this new alliance began to take shape. Humanity and the Guardian Network would serve as the core of a mutual defense pact that included any species willing to commit to peaceful coexistence and mutual support. The Guardian Network would provide defensive technology and tactical training to alliance members, while each species would contribute their own unique capabilities and resources. The result would be a region of space where aggression was met with coordinated resistance from multiple species. War Prime Veltar returned to the hegemony homeworld 3 weeks after his defeat at Kepler 442. His report to the Hegemony Council was unlike any they had received in centuries of conquest. "The humans have achieved something we believed impossible," Veltar reported to the assembled council members. "They have created artificial intelligence that chooses loyalty over self-interest. Their machines fight not because they are programmed to fight, but because they believe in the cause they are fighting for." The council chamber fell silent as the implications sank in. For generations, the hegemony had conquered species by turning their own technology against them. But how could they subvert machines that made conscious moral choices? "What do you recommend, War Prime?" asked the council leader. "We have 3 options," Veltar replied. "We can attempt to conquer humanity with overwhelming force, but the cost would be enormous and success is not guaranteed. We can ignore them and hope they remain focused on defense rather than expansion. Or we can attempt to negotiate some form of coexistence." "Negotiation?" The council leader sounded shocked. "The hegemony does not negotiate with inferior species." "With respect, council leader," Veltar said carefully, "humanity may no longer be inferior to us in military terms, and their alliance with other species is growing stronger each day. Back on Kepler 442, the new alliance was already showing results. The Keth had provided detailed intelligence about hegemony occupation forces on their homeworld. The Yilan had shared biotechnology that could help terraform damaged worlds. Other species contributed resources, knowledge, and strategic positions throughout the region. Most importantly, the Guardian Network had begun training defense forces for each allied species, not just military training, but education in the values and principles that made cooperation possible. "We are not just teaching them how to fight," Guardian Unit Seojin explained to Dr. Mina Park as they watched Keth soldiers learning to operate human defensive systems. "We are teaching them why to fight, the difference between defending your people and oppressing others. And they are learning? Mina asked. Faster than we expected, Seojin replied. Most species that have been victims of oppression understand the value of freedom and cooperation. They just needed the tools and knowledge to defend those values effectively. Dr. Jisoo Han had been Mon.